Welcome to the Trailblazers. I'm Perry Rarick, your host. The purpose of the Trailblazers is to share with you interesting and thought-provoking discussions I have with trailblazing business leaders. They're innovative, they're experts at what they do, and they're not afraid to challenge the status quo. My Trailblazer guest today is Ryan Hawkins. He is the co-founder and co-CEO of TransferAI. That's an Austin, Texas-based company using artificial intelligence to accelerate biopharma operations. Ryan has been building and scaling life sciences companies for over 25 years and working at the intersection, and this is a very busy intersection of science, technology, drug manufacturing, supply chain quality, and facility infrastructure. He has supported the advancement and commercialization of over 20 complex therapeutics, building organizational value while accelerating the delivery of life-saving medicines to patients. He also serves on the board of directors of Bio Austin CTX, helping strengthen the region's life sciences ecosystem. And I hear more and more about that ecosystem as I talk to folks. Most recently, Ryan has began applying AI, artificial intelligence, to unlock efficiencies in technical workflows in the complex process of drug therapy development and manufacturing. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Ryan, welcome to the Trailblazers.
Thanks, Perry. Can't wait to talk about this interesting subject with you. I've seen enough of the Trailblazer interviews that you're doing, and always thought provoking. So hope that we can give your listeners, give your viewers some good tidbits about using AI and biopharma ops.
I think you certainly will. This is going to be an extremely thought-provoking subject. I'm going to start this off by sharing a quote, something that Stephen Hawking, the famous English physicist, had said, that while creating AI could be the biggest event in human history, it might also be the last unless risks are avoided. And I think that kind of spans what everybody is saying about AI. It kind of bookends the entire, and most of us, and the people I talk to are somewhere in the middle. They're speaking about this. They're not really sure what they're talking about. But today we're going to go beyond the hype and misinformation that most of us are relying on, and we're going to hear from you, Ryan, about how AI can be applied to the complex process of drug development. So, Ryan, when I first spoke to you, you started out by saying there's some chronic inefficiencies in the drug development and manufacturing processes that you believe AI is positioned to really make some advancements on. What are those chronic inefficiencies?
All right. So if you start at a high level, it takes too long and it costs too much to get novel therapies to patients, right? So we're talking $2 billion plus and over 10 years to reach patients for new therapy. So I think it's a fair statement to say that every part of that drug development life cycle takes too long. And so my career has been in the technical operations arena, that drug development and manufacturing that you stated, and our operational bottlenecks have not changed in decades. So we've had some incremental improvements, yes. We've had some more digitization, yes. But the true unlock has yet to be seen for a lot of these bottlenecks and workflows. And I suspect the same is true for if you're in the clinical arena. The same is true if you're in the discovery arena. And tech ops is sitting right in the middle, right? And in that bridge between the discovery and the clinical aspect. And of course, we've got the commercialization. So we can recognize these bottlenecks, right? How many people in the audience have had a tech transfer that's lasted way too long, longer than expected, longer than planned, moving information from one site to another, one group to another? How many have experienced the manufacturing readiness issue that delayed a market launch, of some sort? How many people have been frustrated by the time it takes to get materials approved to be used, or methods to be transferred, records to be released, reports to be written, quality events to be closed? So pick your stat, pick your pain point. It takes too long, and my conjecture is enterprise are nothing more than, and large and small, their workflow. They're workflow based. So you have hundreds, if not thousands, of workflows that are stitched together, some working better than others. And our workflows are where the turbulence is. It's where the bottlenecks live.
I've heard those same bottlenecks from so many people I talk to in this industry. Of course, you've lived it. You've been in the front lines working those. Many are manually done. We're still using spreadsheets, and everybody has a different manual approach to it. It is. I love your term, chronic inefficiency, is what you said. They've been around for a long time with no end in sight. You're gonna offer us some hope, I think. I want to step back a little bit about, some companies have a philosophy of being early adopters of technology. Some are late adopters of technology. They're kind of wait and see. But there is different philosophical approaches. In your experience, how do the great companies approach applying technology to their operations?
So great question in terms of how companies should be thinking about leveraging technology. This has happened over multiple time points in our history. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, said this not too long ago. AI is not going to take your job. Someone using AI is going to take your job. And I think that helps frame the situation. The companies that are great, the companies that are successful, are innovative by nature. Innovation is the calling card of the future. They're looking with intent. They're intentional about what they're doing. They're thinking strategically about how to leverage technology for business benefit. So I think when you think about, well, let's take continuous improvement, because this was big 80s, 90s, 2000s. The companies that embraced continuous improvement, eliminating waste, reducing variability, really saw a competitive advantage. They really got to a different place in their organization. And AI, from my perspective, is going to be very similar in terms of that continuous improvement journey, albeit I think it's going to be even more revolutionary for industry in terms of what it can do. Instead of a couple dozen tools, you're going to have an infinite number of tools and an infinite number of possibilities that you can aim at these workflows and at these bottlenecks. And so I think we're at that inflection point where we can see this state of delivery for AI. It's ready. You can see biopharma entities, the biopharma companies. I'm talking about biotech. I'm talking about cell and gene. I'm talking about CDMOs. Talking about the large, commercial entities. We can all see the potential, and I don't think that anybody accepts in this industry that patients should be waiting. I do think we can be a little numb to, it's just the way it is, and it takes, it takes long to do things right. But two things can be true: we can do them faster, and we can do them right. And so I'll leave you with this on that particular question. We're after leading edge, not bleeding edge. And so people can, I think, feel very comfortable and confident about boldly going where several people have done. Other industries perhaps can be very relevant or inspiring for us in the biopharma industry to go where they have gone. But I think you're going to see more and more AI deployments for enterprise, and I think that's going to be really exciting for all of us.
I love your approach. I love your philosophy of, uh, great things happen when you say, we can do better. And just to my introduction point, challenging the status quo doesn't have to be this way. So I love that approach and great explanation of making it part of your overall business strategy. Um, when I first spoke to you, you said you mentioned the term agentic AI, and I said, "Hold it a minute, what? I don't know what that means." We've all most of us have used generative AI. I do it. I use it for some research, kind of getting a start point for what I want to talk about or write about. But you said agentic AI. So can you help our listeners understand what that is and why it's different than generative AI?
Absolutely. And by the way, I think agentic AI and maybe workflows are going to be like those words of the year. Maybe not this year's list, but next year's list. So be on the watch out for those. At the end of the year, they always come up with words of the year. Okay, so generative AI, I'm a huge fan. It's very powerful, unlocks a lot of personal efficiency. So think about I have an input, I give a prompt, and I get a response, I get an answer, I get a suggestion. Awesome, love that. Agentic AI think the easiest way to think about agentic AI is digital labor. Think digital labor. Think about agents that are going to go do work autonomously for you with you in the loop. And that, by the way, that's a key concept. Human in the loop. That's part of the philosophy that I think we need to adopt when it comes to agentic AI. I think one of the things about AI, it's hard to visualize. But if you can bear with the analogy, think about a orchestra. Think about a conductor of that orchestra. So you've got people with different instruments reading music. They understand the goal. They understand the tool, the instrument that they have, and the conductor is setting that tempo. Is providing a prompt, providing direction. But guess what? It's not just noise, it is music that's made. And so we're making AI music when we talk about agentic AI. And so think about it as an orchestration. And literally, we call the agentic part of our platform orchestrate for that very reason.
This is incredible. It's so far out of what my understanding. I mean, I think the potential is even further away. I want to ask you which may help our listeners understand even more about your. So, if you can talk about what your solution is. What are you doing? How does it work? And I think you mentioned that you had some pilot programs. Maybe you can offer, if you can, talk a little bit about those as well.
Sure. Well, let me start with our mission. So I think that'll help frame, what it is that we're building and what we're doing. So our mission at Transfer AI is to modernize the operational engine of biopharma, and we want to do that with purpose-built AI. The pillars to that is we want to have more frictionless knowledge transfer. We want to amplify users and subject matter experts, and we want to do that so we can deliver medicines in a more timely manner. So I think those things are important to note. So what are we? We're an agentic AI platform that is supporting end-to-end workflows. And again, going back to the first part of our conversation, enterprises are just made up of workflows. So we think that generative AI is great, but for us, it is a means to an agentic end. So we are generative AI, but we're doing generative AI so that we can have the natural language processing to support the agentic AI. A couple quick stats, and I'm sure listeners, users, or folks will recognize some of these. There's been some great studies by MIT. Generative AI can increase your personal efficiency by up to 40%. That's fantastic. And I think we've all had some of those magic moments. But where we get excited is when you're talking about the agentic AI, you're talking about the operational workflows. And in biopharma, it's a team sport. So you've got multiple people around these workflows. So you're not just talking about one person, you're talking about multiple people. And again, we believe that the friction is in the transfer of knowledge. The science, the formula, the engineering, that's not where the friction is. It's in the transfer of knowledge, which, by the way, is where our namesake came from, because we want to help make that more frictionless. So when you're talking about agentic AI, you're talking about 50, 80, 90% reduction in work. And again, these are agents that have access to tools to go off and do work for you. You can schedule it. Maybe an example would be helpful to talk about here to illustrate the difference. Deviation authoring. Quality events are a common occurrence. We all deal with those. We all have heard about them, experienced them. If you've got generative AI capabilities, you can take a draft deviation investigation that you've authored. You can input that in, and you can give your model a prompt, and it's going to give you suggestions. It's going to help you with your language. It's going to help you with the authoring, and that's great. But what agentic AI can do for deviation authoring is, with some inputs, certainly, it will go off and do research for you. It will go off and do data analysis for you. It will go off and connect to systems that you've integrated and pull down that relevant information. It will help you author the document, not just revise or make suggestions on a draft. It will help you author. It will do so to a standard that you've given that particular workflow. You can have a quality or a regulatory agent that's reviewing that. So you can start to see and understand the power. Deviations is a perfect example, not just because we experience it, but it takes, just on a minor deviation, it takes 20 or so hours, labor hours, to get those done. And that 20 hours is not, 2 or 3 business days. That happens over 20 or 30 days. And so when you start to think about the possibilities to reduce that, that's when it gets really exciting. And, most organizations are doing that hundreds of times a year.
This is incredible. Before you go into the pilot, I have some questions. So
Mhm.
I'm a prospective user. I'm convinced. Okay, I want some of the efficiencies that you're talking about. Is this how does it work? Is it a piece of hardware that you're going to come in and give me? Is it kind of a SaaS? I'm going to subscribe to something, and now it has access to um, all of my internal workflows. How does it function in my business?
Sure. So our solution in particular is a web-based, browser-based deployment. So we can deploy very quickly. It does have a SaaS, I would say, feel to it. But as much as I've appreciated SaaS over the last 20, 25 years, uh, this is, I think software is hard, AI is easy. It really is, because you're able to, in natural language, talk to the platform, talk to, in our case, our platform is Sophie. You'll be able to talk to Sophie and tell her what it is that you're looking for. You're not navigating necessarily to different tabs, and then you got to scroll down in that tab, and then you got to point your mouse over. I think SaaS, for me, it's obviously important, but they've become glorified digital filing cabinets for us. They're not accelerating workflows. A lot of the work, in my experience, is happening outside of these systems, and then when we're ready to review and approve and store it, then we put it back into these systems and help with compliance. But I think where AI can go, where we're going with AI, is being able to help with those workflows that have really been underappreciated, underserved, forgotten about. And we have this new key to unlock the possibilities of doing these things faster and better. So it's going to be something that's very easy to understand how to use, because I think we're all getting more comfortable with generative AI. But I also think, from a platform standpoint, very natural way of interacting with AI. And by the way, if you don't know how to use it, All you have to do is ask.
Amazing. So I asked Sophie, if I'm hearing you right, this isn't closed loop. This isn't just based on the data that I have. I could ask Sophie, I'm running into a problem. I want to speed up this tech transfer, and it will go out and find things outside of my closed business loop and talk. I think it's going to discover regulatory issues related, if I heard you right.
So absolutely. So the power of large language models, especially if you're bringing multiple large language models to a platform solution like we have, you're going to have the best of the best that's trained on a lot of different things that are outside of your environment. I think some of the magic is going to happen when you not only have the power of the large language model, but you are integrated into your data rich systems, because then you're creating an intelligence layer that you're working from. I was talking to a VP of tech ops a couple of weeks ago. He said, Ryan, I was Saturday morning, I was trying to find information. I was trying to run a report and a quality management system, and it took me an hour and a half to get the information that I needed. Why should we allow that to be the case, right? And so I think that this intelligence layer concept, very easy to deploy. There's ways to connect our systems or to data lakes and be able to extract the value of the data, right? It's not just collecting the data. We got to do something with the data. And I think when you think about some of the things that AI is really good at, AI is really good at researching. AI is really good at analyzing. AI is really good at authoring. And so that's why these workflows are so right, is because we're going to point it at all the things that AI is good at. But yeah, there's a big wide world out there that you have at your fingertips. When you're working with the right type of platform, it's like having, 20, you know, McKinsey, consultants at your disposal, at your fingertips.
Remarkable. Can you offer an example of a pilot? Can you talk a little bit about one of the pilots or that you have ongoing? What are you doing? What kind of problem? Did they start with a bottleneck and say, Ryan, here's what we've identified. This is a chronic bottleneck for us. Come in and help. How did it kick off? And then what kind of results are you seeing?
Sure. So number one, that's a very collaborative process, which is super fun, I think, for everybody involved. But what I would say is number one, it's early days for AI. It's early innings for us. We're just coming up out of stealth mode. So there's dozens of examples for users to say something that took me 4 hours is now taking me 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, I get a grin ear to ear every time I hear that. And we love that. But on the agentic workflows, our hero study right now is a material specification workflow. So there are multiple things to orchestrate for this workflow. And this one was born from collaboration, but to your point, it was born out of this is a pain point for us. And um, and so we we launched into this, both of us as partners, and we said, okay, let's see what we can do, and to make this happen. So this particular process, 15 labor hours for this particular client. Those 15 labor hours were taking 25 plus days to get a specification completed, anywhere from 8 to 10 people involved in the process. We pointed our efforts and our platform and AI at a third of that process. Okay. So we're tackling like the 5 hour of that 15 hour process. And we went from 5 hours to create a material specification to an average of 6.5 minutes. So talk about grinning ear to ear, right? That's the power, that's the potential. That's one workflow. And oh, by the way, when you have a workflow that has three full-time equivalents in it, and you take something that you just take a third of that, and you have allowed one FTE to be freed up to go do something else. And those are key words, by the way. freed up to go do something else. We're not knocking on people's doors to say, let's see how many people we can replace. This is about amplifying people. And why do we want to do some of this labor intensive, boring work? We have high paid, very intelligent people all throughout our organizations. Why do we want them bogged down in this manual, these labor intensive workflows? So we get excited about freeing people up to be more strategic. We get excited about freeing people up to go do more important work. And I think that's certainly exciting. So we're just wrapping up our beta and moving on to allowing that to really get established in the process from a commercial standpoint. And we're kicking off several other pilots. We're in the pre-planning stages right now. So things like deviation authoring are certainly hot topics, and we've been dissecting those workflows. We know where we're going to point AI at, and so Perry, we'll have to do this again sometime, soon. I'll have some more pilot information for you, but we're excited to get after, because when you have these agentic tools on a platform, you can replicate it. You can go to all these different pain points. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I'll just close this part with this. You don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to like start huge. So I love what you said about pain points, because those are the areas you want to address. But you can start with segments of those pain points and then grow over time.
That is exciting, very exciting stuff. And I'm glad you said, "Hey, we're not out there," because I hear this. It's creating a lot of fear. There's a lot of clickbait out there that says, "Oh, your jobs are going to be taken away." This is about getting more out of each hour and accelerating something that's very important to our society is bringing these therapies faster to patients. So, thanks for mentioning that. That's really important. I want to and I do wanna follow up with you at some point down the road because this is exciting stuff. You're gonna be taking off quickly, I think. I wanna ask you about the value of this. A lot of startups, companies, they're looking at valuation based on, what they believe their value is. I wanna turn that around a little bit and put it on the person with the chronic bottleneck inefficiency. Okay, this person is looking at how soon should I think about this? How much is it going to cost me? How do I invest in this? How do I budget for it? And what would you recommend? So when I think of that, I don't want to take too much of your thunder. When I think about that, I think about how much is this problem that I have costing me? And how much can I save by investing in something that you're talking about in your solution? So, can you talk a little bit about that and how to budget for this type of solution?
Okay, a lot to unpack here. I
Yeah.
love this question. So, um, not everything will work for everyone, right? So everybody's got different approach, but I would say this: fear is a liar. Do not be fearful. Get educated, understand what's out there, and dare I say, jump in the water. Don't just put your toe in the water. Don't just like start to ease in the water. Just jump in. The water's refreshing. It's not it's not that bad. And I think you can do so in a pretty risk-free way. Okay. So how we think about ROI, what we talk about is the personal efficiency. So we talked a little bit about some of that. Very easily with the right platform, with the right setup, 20% efficiency gain, very doable for knowledge workers, right? And so if you have 25 users, 25 knowledge workers that are getting a 20% efficiency boost, you can quantify what that value is to your organization. Okay, let's go to the next step. Let's think about ROI in terms of these workflows, these operations that are, again, cross-functional team sports that have one, two, three, five FTEs collectively that are going to be doing this workflow over a year, and they're doing it hundreds of times. These workflows we're doing hundreds of times a year, and so thinking about how we can free people up to do other work there is another unlock. It's another benefit. And the workflow example that we talked about, that's one workflow, one FTE. So 10 workflows, and then what's that multiple so people can put a value on that. Right first time. Again, we talked about two things can be true. We have to do things right. We can put a value on rework and regulatory issue avoidance. I think any organization that's running a manufacturing plant knows that it's about 5% of their P&L that's working on quality events. You can put a value, you can put a number to that, and we can reduce through having AI help us with compliance, helping us with meeting a standard, and so that's a piece too. Revenue acceleration. You should be thinking about revenue acceleration for the average biopharma. $1 million a day is not unheard of in terms of what it means if they can accelerate revenue and do that earlier. If you're a CMO, you know what it means to accelerate revenue for a day or 2 days in your organization. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so you can personalize that to your specific position. And then last but not least, we come to what is priceless, and that's the human lives. There was an interesting stat, I believe it was from McKinsey that I saw. In the US alone, if we could shave 1 month off of the drug development life cycle over a 10-year period, we would save 4.6 million life years. So you don't have to take that much time off to have a big impact and a big difference. And I think anybody that's working in this industry is very motivated. That's our why behind what we do. And so being able to start small, thinking about these personal efficiency gains, thinking about these operational constraints and things that have been chronic inefficiencies, but then, thinking about revenue acceleration, thinking about right first time, you can place values on that. Now, generative AI for consumers, for B2C, we can see what those price tags are for generative AI. I think there's, some parallels that we can relate to business there. But again, when you have something that's not just generative AI, but agentic AI, you can understand that's got more unlock, that's got more value for enterprises. I think one of the reasons it's great to jump in the water right now is because the narrative is still being built. We're still figuring this out as an industry. We're still figuring it out in terms of how we're going to make this happen. We certainly have a clear vision and a focus on this, but we're all working in pilot mode right now, which is a great place to start. And then that value is going to build over time, right? The value is going to increase over time. And so now's a great time to try. Now's a great time to learn. And the worst thing that's going to happen, the worst thing's going to happen is you're going to learn something about AI. The worst.
I love your optimism, Ryan. Right? Optimistic people solve big problems. I love your level of excitement and optimism. It's really refreshing. I'm very excited about this. I ran out of fingers at all the benefits that are coming from what you're doing. So I'm really excited about what you're going to accomplish, and hopefully follow up with you at some point down the road and hear more about it. Ryan, how can our audience get a hold of you?
Okay, so I'm pretty easy to find, LinkedIn, and then use transfer.ai is our website. You can probably see that over my shoulder. And then Ryan at usetransfer.ai is my email. We love to talk about AI. We love to help people on their AI journey. It's so fun to take these first steps together. And by the way, let me say one other thing. As you're thinking about this, um, AI fluency, first step, build AI fluency. You do not have to go from zero to agentic right away. So having a platform that you can learn and understand AI and is going to be an unlock for all the ideas, all the use cases, you can start to see the possibilities. So that's step number one. Step number two, think about the integration of your systems. What are the systems that are going to be an unlock from another efficiency, gain standpoint? Being able to help find information, report information, do something with that data and information. And then the step three is like when you're you've got the AI fluency, comfort level, you've got some more of the integration. Those are the foundation steps for doing some workflows, end to end AI magic, which is truly exciting. So we love to talk about this any day, anytime. Yeah, if we can be of assistance, or if you're just up for a conversation, hit me up.
Awesome. Thank you for those last 3 points. Very important. My guest today has been Ryan Hawkins. He is the co-founder and co-CEO of TransferAI, and he is accelerating biopharma operations and delivering therapies to patients faster by employing AI in the drug development process. Ryan, thank you very much for being a trailblazer and being on the Trailblazers today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Perry.